Okay, let's start with how we can create follow-through in our motion design project, where we are working with more abstracted design elements such as text, icons, and shapes. It is pretty simple. Here I have, for example, two text layer. I start with putting my time slider a few frames ahead, creating the first keyframe, going a few frames further, and create another set of keyframes. So I go back to my first keyframe and move both text outside of viewport. So right now I have an animation like this, which is not very interesting because both texts are coming into the frame at the same time. And this is pretty plain. What I do is I select the second text keyframes and just offset them, move them a little bit further. The next thing I need to do is to change the easing. So I change all of these keyframes to easy ease. And then I go to my graph editor, change the form of my graph. Now my animation is a bit more interesting, and this is one of the simplest way to create follow-through for your animation. Let's do another example where I create follow-through not only by offsetting the keyframes, but also changing the space between the keyframes. So it's a bit of more versatile motion. Here I want to create a movement for my click icon, and I want these two circles follow through that motion. So I select all three layers and press P to open position keyframing, move the time slider a few frames ahead, and create the first keyframe, and then I move it ahead again and create the last keyframes. I move everything to the final position, and then I start playing with my motion path, starting with the click icon. So I kind of create a bit of curve for this to make it more interesting. And I do the same for circles. I also change their position a little bit. Now it's time to offset the keyframe. So I select all the keyframes in the second circle and just move them a little bit further. Do the same thing for circle 1. And I also change the speed of their motion by just changing the space between the two main keyframes. The last thing I do is to modify the easing of my animation. And if you like, you can also change the form of your graph.